All right, guys, so today we are going to be installing this fuel gauge by Autometer. And if you guys are considering buying any type of gauges, I strongly recommend going with Autometer brand versus other cheap ones that you see on Amazon. Now, although you can buy this on Amazon, and that's where I got all my gauges from, Amazon, they're the same price as if you were to go to any other stores online like Summit Racing or other places. And the reason why you want to go with Autometer is because, well, they are made in USA and it is the best gauges on the planet, period. So I recommend you guys do your research. It's really important that you guys buy gauges that are reliable. I've purchased some old cheap gauges, you know, like online for 15-20 bucks, and what you find is that the needles will kind of shake as the car vibrates, or they just don't function they're not very accurate because they oftentimes bounce around. But with the Autometers, you can assure that they are the best. They use the best material and best technology on the planet for their gauges. Let me show you guys what comes in a package. So besides the obvious, it comes with all the hardware you need. It comes with a light for the back of the gauge. It has a mounting bracket for the back. Now, if you're mounting this in the dash, no issues. But in my situation, I am mounting this outside the dash. So I'll show you guys in a little bit where I got my fuel gauge mounted. It's basically a 3-hole bracket that I bought from Autometer, again on Amazon. There's basically 3 prongs. One is the ground, which is already hooked up in the truck, and we'll get to that in a little bit. One is the ignition, so when you turn the key on, it'll engage the gauges, and the other one goes to your sending unit on your in your gas tank. So in my truck, it's just right behind the back seat. But what I did was I used the existing cable that's coming into the instrument cluster. I cut that because that gauge is no good. I'm using that gauge to plug into here. So ground, sending unit, and then your ignition switch, and that's it. Okay, then once you get it installed, the wire's hooked up, you'll hook this up to the mounting bracket, put on your little star washer, and then these little nuts, and that's all there's to it. So I bought my gas gauge with a silver background. You'll see my other gauges being all black. Is because I want this to kind of pop out when you're looking down at your gauges, because I got 2 other ones there already. It'll draw your eye to the fuel gauge, make sure you don't run out of gas. The gas tank in my truck is pretty small. I'm not really sure what the volume is. So now with this fuel gauge, I can get a better sense of when I'm running empty, and I can do better analysis of how many gallons my fuel tank actually holds. So these are what I bought for the instrument cluster. So if you guys haven't seen that video, I'll put a playlist here on this video. I replaced the old light bulbs with these LEDs, and they are absolutely amazing. Okay, so, oh yeah, so you can have a red background light, a green background light, or just run it with white. So I'm just gonna pull this thing off and discard that and put in my LEDs here. And I'll leave all the links down below so you know where to get these LEDs on Amazon. They're super cheap, and just pop in just like that, and they're super bright. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and put it in here right now while we're on the bench. And it's just like a quarter turn, snaps right in. Okay, this is the actual sending unit cable coming from the gas tank, and then it stops right here and it plugged in right here, which I have it tapped off. Okay, so this is my new sending unit. It's this yellow cable right here, and then at the very end of it, I put in a little connector, so it plugs right in. I didn't have any shrink tubes, so I just used duct tape, and that should be just fine. I also have this cable right here. So this is the ignition switch, and this is where I will probably tap in my ignition switch to this yellow one, like I did with my other gauge down here for the water temperature gauge. And I just installed that boost gauge. So if you guys want to see a video on how to install the boost gauge, I'll leave a card right up here in this video. I didn't do a video on the water temperature gauge. These are all pretty simple, but if you want me to show you how to do that, let me know in the comments, and I'll do that for you guys. This ground was already there, so I just tapped my new ground cable to that, so here's my ground, my sending unit, and I'm gonna tap in my ignition switch to this, probably this end right here. I forgot I left this end kind of open so I can tap my fuel gauge there. So pretty straightforward. I left these other two gauges. So there are, let me show you guys. So there are these white and black cables. None of them are connected, and these connect to the light. Okay, so I'm gonna do all of that in one fell swoop. I'm gonna connect them all together, so I don't have 6 different lines going across, you know, behind the gauge cluster here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just kind of pre-measure my line here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut off the access. And I got this connector here that's got kind of a built-in heat shrink. And if you're not sure if that's the ignition cable, it's always good to get yourself one of these testers. You just connect the one end, hold on a sec here. You just connect the one end to the ground. Then as you turn on the switch key, as you can see right now, there's no power. Okay. But when I turn the key on, off, on. Okay, that's how you can tell. So it's really a good idea to have one of these things. They're like $3 or $5 on Amazon. And I will definitely leave a link to that down in the description. Okay, so now we got all of our cables down here. We have our ground. Yellow one is to our fuel gauge sending unit, and then we have our ignition wire right here. Come in this way. Okay, and then bring it in this way. There you go. Okay, and then again we have ground, which is our black one, goes on the top, or in this case it's the bottom. Then we have our, let's see, yellow is a sending unit. There's an S right here, stands for sending unit. And then our, let's see, I for ignition. And then clip that on there. Okay, so I'm gonna leave all this information down here where you guys can buy these little connectors on Amazon. Oops, this didn't go through. There we go. Okay, so then we're gonna push our gauge through here. Okay, and then kind of bring in your mounting bracket. Make sure you get the black and white wire through there as well. Okay, and then make sure the gauge is facing the right way. And get that on there, just like that. Bring in your star washer, and then your little nut. Okay, and then do the other side. You want to make sure that your gauges are lined up exactly the way you want it. And then you can tighten up those nuts in the back. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn on the ignition here. And there goes our fuel, and that's about right. I should have about 3/4 of a tank. I just filled up yesterday, and I've been driving around a little bit today. Awesome. So there's no calibration needed, just basically plug and play. And this should be already calibrated for all Ford and GM model vehicles going back from 1965 to, I think, to current. Okay, turn it off. There you go. How sweet is that? Okay.